Welcome to the Leap Hour, where inspiring leadership meets real-world impact. Hosted by Steve Farber, acclaimed author of The Radical Leap, this show brings you face-to-face with visionary leaders who embody the art of leading with love, energy, audacity, and proof. In each episode, Steve dives deep into the journeys of remarkable individuals who've embraced extreme leadership to ignite change, spark innovation, and inspire others to greatness. These are the game changers, the risk takers, and the leaders who prove that heart and courage can change the world. This is the Leap Hour, and the conversation starts now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Leap Hour, and we've got a really good one for you today. So a quick overview for those of you who are tuning in to this for the first time. The idea behind this Leap Hour series of discussions is tied in with the 20th anniversary of my first book, which was called The Radical Leap, therefore the Leap Hour. That book came out in 2004. So, here we are at the end of 2024. And according to my advanced mathematical capabilities, that makes it 20 years since the book was first published. And what has happened over these 20 years as a result of that book being out there and being read and used and utilized, which I guess is just another way of saying used with more syllables. As a result of all that happening, I've met some really incredible people through various means, but all connected in some way to the body of work represented in the Radical Leap. Primarily this framework of LEAP, which stands for love, energy, audacity, and proof. Cultivate love, generate energy, inspire audacity, provide proof. So I'm bringing these people on, a lot of them, not all of them certainly, but I've got this incredible list of amazing people that I've met through this work, who have fantastic stories to tell about their own leadership in their businesses and beyond, and how they've applied, cultivating love, etc., in their various enterprises. So today is no exception, obviously, and I'm super excited about this because she also has some very new news to share with us. This is the ever effervescent Susie Thompson, Chief Culture Officer of Wood Huston Bank, a community bank located in Missouri, which is right up the road from where I am in Kansas City. And Susie and I met a fair number of years ago. Not even sure what year was that. Do you remember, Susie?
Yeah, I do. It was 2018. So
2018. Wow. So Susie has a great story to tell. And I'll just start I'll just share with you my impression, my first impression of the first time I met Susie Thompson. We were running a certification program in San Diego. So people were coming to learn how to facilitate the Radical Leap workshop in their organizations. And Susie Thompson came walking in the room. And when I say she came walking in the room, I'm going to say like a beam of light came walking in the room ahead of her. And then she revealed herself as the source of that beam of light. Susie, I clearly remember just my very first impression of you, your smile, your energy, your positivity just emanates from you. And then that was the beginning of what's become a great friendship over the years. And Susie has done really incredible things at Wood Huston Bank. So with all that, Susie, thank you so much for being here.
Well, how about you cultivating love right off the bat? Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor to be here today. Well,
thank you for saying so. And of course, the honor is mine and ours and everybody listening. I'm going to remind you in that spirit of connecting with the people who are listening. I'm going to remind you to look at the camera lens when you talk to us, so we can look into your eyes and hopefully not get lost in there. So Susie, tell me a little bit, first of all, about Wood Huston Bank, about that enterprise in which you have influence every day.
Yeah. First of all, greatest place to work. The Wood Huston Bank, we are a fifth generation community bank, and we're headquartered in Marshall, Missouri, which is, I like to say, in between Kansas City and St. Louis. We've got 6 different markets where we serve customers every day, extraordinarily so. And we've got right now 192 employees we call trusted advisors that work for Wood Huston. And it is just a phenomenal workplace. And the culture work that we've been able to do the past, gosh, I think we started this about 7 years ago, has just recently landed us a huge award. And do you mind if I share that?
I would be devastated if you didn't.
Woo! I am so excited. I've been excited. I've had to keep a secret for quite some time. But we recently, as of Monday, the national press release came out from Washington, D.C. We won the ICBA, which is the International Community Bankers Association. We won Best Community Bank to Work for 2024. So in the entire nation, the Wood Huston Bank won this great award. And there were 5 winners in different asset categories, and we won in the largest asset category. So a bank that is over $1 billion in assets. So
right.
Yes, so there's an article on their website. We're going to have a big award ceremony. Our CEO, our president and CEO, Mark Thompson, he's going to be receiving that award in Nashville in March. So we announced it yesterday bank-wide, and I think everyone is really excited. It's such a feather in our cap, and I think a real validation of all of our hard work, which is hard work.
Yeah, and the way that tell me if it worked in this case as well. The way that a Best Place to Work award is given, the way that status is analyzed is actually through the feedback from the employees, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't like you had somebody hovering around and observing you from afar and then anointing you with this award. It came from the responses of the people that worked there.
It did. And we had one of the highest rates of return on the questions and the survey that was sent out.
Oh, really?
And they were very impressed by that. And I've recently looked at some of the data, and it really, how we performed versus industry was pretty extraordinary and phenomenal, actually. So I'm excited to be able to share that.
So the very fact that people responded to it, were given the survey and then actually filled it out, is in and of itself a factor, which makes sense, right? Because if a company says, "Hey, we want to, we're applying for this Best Place to Work thing, we'd like you to fill out this survey," and people respond to it by going, I'm not filling that crap out. That's a pretty good sign that they're not going to win.
Probably so. Yeah. I didn't have a doubt, though. I knew our trusted advisors would come through, and they sure did. And I'm so proud of everybody in our bank. It's just.
So the designation of a Best Place to Work, and there are a lot of regional and local awards like that, city to city. You find them in various industries. The fact that you guys won a national award of an international association or organization is a big deal. And there's something about the reason these awards have become so desirable, I think, is if I have a designation as a company of a Best Place to Work, there are a lot of advantages that come from it over the obvious, which is that people enjoy working there. Okay. Well, from a cynical perspective, it's like, well, so what? Well, the so what seems obvious to us and folks like us, is that when people love working at the place that they're working for, they're more likely to create an experience that their customers are going to love, which means that we're going to have a bigger advantage in the marketplace. And if we have a reputation for being a great place to work or a best place to work, we are going to attract the best talent available out there and hold on to the great talent that we have. Right? I mean, that's
100%. Yes.
the
100%.
deal.
Mhm.
So as to why should I care about being a best place to work, that's why. That's why. So the question I have for you is, how'd you do it?
Oh,
So not a small question, I guess.
you're right. How much time do we have?
You can have as much time as you want. But it is called the leap hour, so that's a
Right. Yeah. Well, no, the how we get to this space, a lot of dedication, passion, love, energy, audacity, proof, hard work. We really, our story, which I think is a very unique love story. I like to call it a love story. It started about 7 years ago. Our bank has always been a very healthy, thriving, successful bank. When I came on board 8 years ago, we had already won some awards for being one of the top healthiest banks around. But our culture was very family-centric, family-friendly, which is fantastic. We've always had a strong culture. Well, that year was about 2017. We won another award, the Extraordinary Banker Award, and it was a great feather in our cap again. And we were really excited. And a group of senior leaders went up to Minneapolis to receive the award. And it was great to say, hey, we're extraordinary bankers. And we came back and we celebrated, but we really asked ourselves too, why did we win this award? What really was it that had other people thinking that we deserved this award? Culturally, what have we done? So like any champion, the Kansas City Chiefs, they win the Super Bowl. They're not going to go and rest on their laurels and say, we're going to give it up for the year. We don't need to practice. They practice harder. They ask themselves, what are we going to do to win again, right? To three-peat. So we asked ourselves similar questions. Say, we have the heart of a champion here. So what are we going to do to step up our game? So we knew we wanted to start with just the concept of culture. And in our employee handbook, I think I had read somewhere, we had a mission statement, but it was kind of buried in that employee handbook. And we really wanted to unearth it and say, what is it that we really want to do? What is our mission? And then what are the behaviors, the values, the beliefs? What should those be to be able to make that mission and vision come to life? So we hired a consultant, Ray Adler from California. He had done a lot of culture work with community banks. I had done some culture work with Hallmark cards when I was there several years prior. So we kind of coordinated and said, really, this isn't a two-person operation here to figure out what our mission is. So we gathered a large group of passionate people. We put an email out there, who is passionate about our culture, who would like to join a committee that's really going to identify these values and beliefs and leadership philosophy. So we got this.
And was that an invitation that went across the organization, all levels?
Went across the organization, bank-wide, all levels. And we were looking for a very diverse group of people, diverse in lots of different senses, diversity of background, diversity of tenure, diversity of thought, diversity of role. We really wanted lots of different perspectives to come together so that we walked away from that first meeting really with a clear sense of direction that we all felt good about, because we really believe at Wood Huston that everyone, no matter what your title is or what your role is, you are a leader and your voice should be heard. So we got this group together and came up with our mission, which was a very simple but clear mission. We said, hey, we help make dreams come true. We're in the banking business. Everyone who comes through our doors or comes online or goes to our mobile app, everybody has a dream or something that they're working toward. Their finances are important to them. So we're here to help them, help make those dreams come true. And we identified culture attributes. We've always believed, Steve, our mantra has always been, culture is not about making people happy. It's about driving the behaviors that are going to produce the results that we want, which is extraordinary customer experiences. So we identified our attributes. We said we're trusted advisors. We're pioneering in how we think. We are driven every day. We come to work wanting to be better than we were yesterday. We say we're accountable, reliable, efficient, right? So we came up with those attributes.
Okay, so let me just stop you right there just for a second. So this was all about 7 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
And this whole discussion and the results of that discussion in terms of the cultural attributes and the mission, et cetera, making dreams come true, this was a collective effort by a representation across the organization.
Yep.
As opposed to a few of you muckety mucks going away on an offsite, sitting down and having a poetry contest, and then coming back and revealing your revelation to the rest of the company and saying, get on board.
Yeah.
So everybody had everybody who wanted to had input in this.
Absolutely. And that was the beauty of it all, because we all, and it was everybody from all of our different markets. We have a market in Cape Girardeau, in Jackson, Missouri, West Plains, Springfield, Sedalia, and Higginsville. We had representatives from all of our different areas, and we all walked away feeling fantastic. And we also knew there was so much more work to be done outside of just identifying those things. And where LEAP came in was shortly thereafter. We were really excited about that. And actually, we have this little tool we call a Pocket Pal that has our mission on it, all the attributes. But what's on the back is the key component that ties it all together. And that's where you come in. And it's our LEAP philosophy, right? So love, energy, audacity, proof. That's the key that brings everything together. And I think it was, I met you, I first saw your presentation online. I had done a lot of leadership work at Hallmark. So I was familiar with a lot of the books and a lot of the workshops and the things like that. But when I watched you talk about LEAP and the love piece, the foundation of love, it felt there was such a strong connection to that for our mission, right? Love of our customers, love of their dreams, and wanting to make those dreams come true. So we took that and ran with it. And that's where I met you and got certified to roll out LEAP. And actually, that's something that I'm super proud of. And I think what makes a big difference in the strength of our culture, we put every single trusted advisor through a LEAP workshop, and really ingrain them in the concepts of LEAP and help them understand how powerful and important it is to cultivate love every day, generate energy, inspire audacity, provide proof. So that's the first thing as a new hire, you get that training, and we say right away, you own this. You are a leader, you have a voice, and this is what we expect. And this is how we're going to be every day. So that's kind of started.
Yeah. All right. So there's a few things I want to focus on there. First of all, let me just say, it's unbelievably gratifying for me to hear that story and to see how you all have applied these ideas in ways that are uniquely Wood and Huston. Because my intention behind this wasn't to get everybody to do everything the same way across the board, but to see how people take these very fundamental ideas and apply them in their own way, in a way that's unique to them. And you guys are just a beautiful example of that. One of the things that's emerging as I'm having these conversations with folks, and you guys are another great example of this, is this LEAP framework was a confirmation of who you already were, as an organization, right? And in essence, one of the things that it did was embolden you to get even more intentional about it
Mm-hmm.
and ramp it up, and really, really apply it. And by the way, I know that this runs the risk of starting to sound like an infomercial about the radical leap. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Oh, this is just a commercial. He's trying to sell books." Listen, I have no objection to selling books, and as part of our celebration of 20 years of this work, we're giving the book away. So I'm not asking you to go buy the Radical Leap, oh noble listener. I'm asking you to download a free audio book of it at theradicalleap.org. So I'm giving the book away, so you can really dive into the content on your own. So you can download the book for free at radicalleap.org. So Susie, as you guys started to apply this framework, can you give us some examples of what that looked like?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you say, this is really all about love for us, and our part of our role as an organization is to cultivate that love, say, with our customers. Well, how did you do that? What did that look like?
That's a great question, and we look at customers, two ways: internal and external. And we know that when we're able to cultivate love at such a deep level with our internal customers, with each other, that is going to generate a whole different kind of electric energy and vibe that translates to the customers that come visit us, right? But you used a great word, intentional. We knew that leap. It's not just 4 letters or 8 words. We knew we had to embed it and really make sure that we use the language purposefully, intentionally, and that we communicated. I'm a big believer in 7 times 7 ways. So we knew we had to just incorporate it into all of our HR systems, all of our communications. We do lots of different things when we interview potential candidates or potential trusted advisors. We ask questions that get at, how do you cultivate love? How do you generate energy, to make sure that we're bringing people on board that already own these things, right? So we've even got like a recognition platform. This is a great way to cultivate love, by the way. We give points away every month to our trusted advisors, and you can share your points and recognize people for all the great work that they've done. And all of our culture attributes and the LEAP principles have hashtags. So if somebody does something that cultivates love in a way that has really made a difference, they're going to put a post out there and then put a hashtag cultivate love behind that. We include them in our goals. Every trusted advisor has goals, and they're attached to those attributes and to the LEAP principles.
So can you give us an example of what a goal around love might look like, or any of the attributes?
Yeah, well, go right back to the reward and recognition platform. So maybe a cultivate love goal is make sure that you recognize 6 fellow trusted advisors every week. Right. So that would be an example of a cultivate love goal, right? So
and how about doing that in the community? I seem to recall something about kind of a love effort in the local markets in which you guys operate.
Yeah. Well, we're a community bank. So supporting our communities is of utmost importance and a priority for us. So we actually we highly encourage participation when we're out in the community at different events. We encourage each other to take our talents and our gifts out into the community as well. And there was at one point, I think we had sponsored or contributed to an event in the community in 221 different events, I think, in a year. So, and we actually did something one time that one of my favorite things we did, which I'd love to do again, and I think it's great for the holiday season, by the way. We did a pay it forward activity. So we got groups, teams that we put together around the bank, and we gave each team $100 to go pay it forward in the community, however you wanted to do that. And I'll never forget the team that I was on. We went to the Missouri Valley College here in Marshall, and it was over the winter break. So many students were gone, but there were several that were still here in the library. And we went and purchased a gift basket, one for actually 2 gift baskets. And there was a young lady who was sitting in the library, and we just went up and said, we just want to pay it forward, and we hope you have a good break, and had a blanket and a mug and some hot cocoa and things like that. She broke down in tears. Mm-hmm. She said, "Are you serious?" She said, "This is for me. Why?" She said, "And it's my birthday." And she was all alone on her birthday, and she was actually she was from overseas, so was missing her family and was feeling alone. And man, that was a lot of fun.
Wow. So it's so simple and has such an impact. And I can imagine not just an impact on her in her lonely moment on her birthday, but an impact on the people that gave that to her in that moment. And then the impact on all of you, because obviously it became a story that you tell about that. So that one little simple moment is not an isolated moment. It has a ripple effect and becomes, again, part of the company story, part of the company culture is the stories that we're able to tell to each other about ourselves, right?
Well, absolutely. And we call it the boomerang effect. When you live LEAP, what you throw out into the world, what you give, you get back times 1,000, and it does feel good. And then that perpetuates the energy that inspires you to want to, have a bold and blatant disregard for those constraints to be able to change the world for the better, right? It's a beautiful thing.
So let me tag onto that for a second. Bold and blatant disregard for normal constraints in order to change the world for the better is our definition of audacity, right? Mm-hmm. Now, just a little backdrop for this question. Years ago, I sent out a survey to people in my email list, basically. And I said, okay, of all of the elements of LEAP, love, energy, audacity, improve, what do you feel you need? Which one do you feel you need the most help with? Another way of saying, what's the most challenging for you? And audacity was at the top of the list by a factor of like 3 to 1. I mean, it was way up there. So this idea of the proverbial thinking outside the box, audacity is more like what box, but it's that innovative thinking and the risks involved, the necessary risks involved in being innovative. Now, risk and banking are not comfortable, neighbors in the same sentence, so to speak. So what does audacity look like to you guys in the banking business that you're in?
Well, the answer to that isn't simple, because it really, there are lots of variations of it, depending on the person, depending on the situation. It could be something as simple as a person who's decided to do something that they're uncomfortable doing, knowing that engaging in a project or is going to do something positive on the other end, is going to make something process more efficient for a customer when they come in to open an account, or anything like that. So it really depends on the person, and we do encourage and we really do expect people to look for those opportunities. And when you say risk, obviously we're not talking dangerous risks, right? Things that are going to hurt you or hurt others, but things that really push you a little bit outside of that comfort zone, a little bit challenge you to do something, knowing that it's the right thing to do and it's a good thing to do.
So obviously you're not taking risks with your customers' assets,
right?
Right. But that's the interesting thing about a field like banking, because you have, or in any highly regulated field, because you have by necessity certain kind of inviolable, is that the word? Inviolable laws, right? Rules. And it's easy to fall into a habit that says, because we cannot take a risk over here, that means we are risk averse everywhere. That means we can't take a risk anywhere. And it makes it hard to find the distinctions between what is an acceptable risk and what isn't. So, to build on what you were saying, a risk might be trying a new idea that's going to benefit our customer. And why is that a risk? Because it might fail, right? And people don't like to fail, and they don't want to be attached to a failure. So that's a risk. But a risk can also be having a difficult conversation with somebody. It feels risky. And this is what we refer to, as as the pursuit of the OSM, which stands for the oh shit moment. It's risk is scary, and by nature people tend to step away from something that's scary. So you're encouraging people to take those kinds of risks.
Yes. Yeah.
So the risk of transparency, the risk of authenticity, the risk of vulnerability, et cetera.
Well, we believe in a 2-word question, asking what's possible. That's how we take risks. Let's take a look at this. What is possible? What can we do? And go from there.
So what happens then when somebody is encouraged to explore the possibility side of the equation, and they try something and it doesn't work? What happens? I mean, I know there's going to be variations on the theme, but culturally, what are the consequences?
Yeah, they're positive. You say thank you for trying that. Fantastic. What did you learn from it? And what are you going to take away from it? How are you going to do it differently next time? Let's talk about the positive versus the negative piece. We want people to raise their hand and say, I have an idea. We encourage that. We actually have an idea submission process. And we've gotten so many great ideas through that process. But it's really saying your voice, your opinions matter. We want to hear it. If it doesn't work out, we'll try again. There's no fault in failure. It's a good thing. You learn from your failures and you build on that. And that's the attitude and the spirit that we want everybody to work within.
Yeah, I mean that is a big leap for some people, is the celebration of the thing that doesn't work, and celebrating the lesson learned as a result of that, which is hugely valuable. By the way, just a logistical note, a programming note: if you are watching us live and you happen to be on YouTube or on Facebook, you can interact with us. You can comment, and we'll see your comments. And if you're on LinkedIn, we're monitoring that as well. So I just want to pull one of these out just for a second, because we did have a comment coming in from LinkedIn from Susie Etienne. It says, a company culture tells you about the company and leadership. So now that's interesting. The wording on that, a company culture tells you about the company and leadership. So when I read that, it makes me think that there are companies out there who acknowledge they have a culture, but don't really work on it. Actually, I'll take that back even one more step. there are companies that don't acknowledge they have a culture, but they do, because every company does, whether you call it that or not, right? So you can look at the standards and modes of behavior and how people communicate and their reputation in the marketplace and all that. And that, when you wrap that all up, that's the culture, and it does tell you something about that company and about the leadership. And then there are levels of intentionality around it, right? So I recognize that I have a culture, but I'm not really doing anything about it. And then I recognize that I have a culture, I'm not really happy with it, so I'm going to work on it. And then I've got to figure out what is it that I want to emphasize. And the decisions about what to emphasize and what to work on also tell you about the company. It tells you about what's important there in terms of the priorities. So having said all that, back to Wood Huston. You said a little bit ago that you put all of your trusted associates, otherwise known as in other places, employees, members, right? And that's your terminology, because it reflects how you feel about them and your expectation of them, right?
Correct.
So that in and of itself, that label is an example of the culture. You put all of your trusted advisors through the LEAP training, but it didn't start with that, did it? So in other words, and I'm testing my memory on this, when you came back from the certification program and you walked out of there a full-fledged, bona fide, certified facilitator of the Radical Leap Workshop, what was the first thing you did with that when you got back to Wood Huston?
The first thing is we went straight to the top because the strength of your culture, everything starts at the top. If you don't have buy-in there, you might as well just, so we went to the Huston brothers, Nick, Matt, HJ, Mark, our, again, president and CEO, Mark Thompson. We presented the concept of LEAP. And let me tell you, love and banking are two things that you don't normally think of, you put together. So I'm sure at that meeting, there were probably a couple salty comments here and there, but they got it.
Yeah.
They got it. Because what we do in our business is all about love, right? And when you were talking about culture, we really believe that our culture, with LEAP as a huge foundational piece of that, that's the very thing that gives us competitive advantage, right? Because if you look at, all banks do the same thing, have the same types of products, right? You go into a bank, you kind of know what to expect, but it's not what we have or what we do, it's how we do it. And when we talked to the Hustons about that, when we first came back, through love and through the energy, right? And Audacity and providing proof every single day that what we do matters to our customers and our communities, it just became crystal clear, right? And then once we got the buy-in there, and it felt really good, and we just continued to present it to our leadership staff, all of our supervisors, and we put all of our trusted advisors through it at the very beginning. And then now we've continued doing that in new hire orientation workshops. So that's really how it began. And it's you expect your leaders to live LEAP.
Yeah.
Yes.
One expects leaders to live LEAP. But in many places, those expectations and the reality do not exactly line up, right? Which is what makes it an ongoing journey for everybody. So you guys, you started literally at the top of the organization, and in any kind of a cultural endeavor, that's the conventional wisdom that says culture change must start at the top. And, I've really wrestled with that over the years, because in some ways, at Wood Huston Bank, it did start at the top, but in other ways, it didn't.
Hmm.
In other words, you weren't at the top, the literal top of the organization, but so it started actually with you and some of your colleagues and peers at that level that said, okay, let's take this further. And you weren't trying to rebuild or change the culture. You're trying to build on the great stuff that you already had.
Well, and the thing is, Steve, I was given permission
Yeah.
to do that.
Right.
And there's a difference there too.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So you had an expectation of open-mindedness because you got the blessing.
Mhm.
Go thou to San Diego and pursue this craziness. So when you came back and brought the top tier together, knowing first of all, how were you feeling when you came back in armed with these ideas, when you came back into Wood Huston, before you had that meeting with them? What were you feeling?
Pure excitement, uncontainable excitement and passion. Honestly, and I think those who know me, I'm an easy read, right? I was chomping at the bit to share it. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was the right path. It was the right thing to do. It was the right philosophy for us and what we wanted to accomplish. So I was really excited. Healthy nerves, but I didn't have a doubt that they would see the light.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just thinking of this in terms of, because you know how my mind works. I like to extract the principles from these conversations. So for anybody who's listening, that really has a desire to have an impact on your culture, whether it's to change it or to improve it or to create an intentionality around it, whatever it is. The temptation to think that it all starts at the top. It's tempting to say, well, I can't, if I'm not at the top of the company, I can't do anything about that. Mm-hmm. But what you're describing for us is that you can, whatever it is, Leap or anything else, whatever it is, if you really understand it yourself, whatever it is, and you're really excited about it, that unbridled excitement, that energy that you just described. So in other words, you have the love for your idea. That generates the energy and the excitement in you about communicating that idea to the right people, which then inspires you to be audacious, to have that bold and blatant disregard for the constraint that you put on yourself that said, I can't do anything about this. Now you're saying, I'm going to put that aside, even though I'm not the CEO. I'm going to sit down with the CEO and his or her, peers, whatever, and I'm going to prove to them that this is a great idea in the way that I present it and in my showing up, and then see if you can get them together and make your case. And in some cases, it's gonna happen like it did at Wood Huston with you, where you get the blessing and the go ahead, and not only that, but the enthusiasm behind it from the top. And sometimes you don't. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it wasn't worth trying. That's your extreme leadership opportunity, whoever you are, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what the example that I see and hear in you. And then the cascading down is a wonderful thing. And the advantage, of course, that you had and still have is that you're not a huge company. 100, what would you say, 160?
192.
192 employees. You can create a wave across an organization that size relatively, I'm not saying it's easy, but relatively easy relative to, a 10,000 or 100,000 person company, right? So, obviously I've met Mark and spent some time with him. at one of our events, and when I've been up there to visit you guys, and it is so inspiring to me to see a CEO get behind the talent and his team. The talent that, and it's not, obviously not, as you've been very clear to point out, it's not the Susie Thompson show. It's the trusted advisor show. It's the Wood Huston show, and everybody has a chance to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the training then is kind of the foundational piece, and then you're reinforcing it every day.
Yeah. And, and we have at the end of the year, we have a culture awards. If you remember, you came up and joined us a couple of years ago. And that's really the culmination for us, and the way that we can really reward and recognize all the people who live LEAP and live our attributes on the daily. So we're getting ready to have our culture awards here in mid-January, and we've got awards for Cultivating Love, an award for Generating Energy, award for Audacity, and an award for Proof. So can't wait to hand those out.
So that, again, that's an example of what you mentioned earlier, and it went by kind of fast. So I just want to put another emphasis on it. When you want to bring whatever the attributes are, so in this case, we're talking about LEAP, but whatever the attributes are, you got to ask yourself as an organization, where does that show up in everything that we do? So if we take Cultivate Love, for example, how does that impact the kind of people that we hire, like you talked about before, the way that we hire them, in other words, the kind of questions that we ask, et cetera. You talked about that. And then how does it impact everything from our performance evaluations and our KPIs and our comp and benefits and our community outreach and our meetings, and it's putting it through every aspect of the company and causing it to show up there. Yes,
every single lens. Yep, you can't go anywhere without feeling it. Yeah,
and it's always looking for ways that we can reinforce that in each other as well. Mm-hmm. So can you just talk for a minute about, I know one other thing that you guys have done and continue to do is you've taken a certain number of people and had them participate in what we call the Extreme Leadership Accelerator. It's like a mastermind program built around LEAP. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you guys are using it and the impact that it's had?
Yeah, no, we very much see the value of strong leadership. And every year we have identified just different groups of people that we've put through the Extreme Leadership Accelerator program. And it's an opportunity monthly for them to kind of get together as a team to talk about opportunities and leadership and challenges and barriers, an opportunity to create goals for themselves, and all in the spirit of strengthening and improving how we lead and how we live LEAP on the daily again. So we've got several groups working, and every month there's a different leadership topic that's discussed. But we've made it very clear that, this is an investment that we're making in you as a leader, because we know that the return on that investment is going to be very high. You're going to have people coming out of those programs with that passion, with that energy, and with that drive, right, to make it come to life, to live it out loud, I like to say. And there's nothing more inspiring to other people, because when you're around leaders like that, you feel it.
Right.
You feel it, and you can derive inspiration from that as well. So those groups have been just really such a tremendous value.
So the principle there, again, is you've got, when you're working on a culture, wherever you happen to be, you've got the attributes that you're trying to emphasize and encourage people to act in accordance with. And then there's the whole toolbox that you can use in order to get there, including, big part of it is what is generically referred to as, we'll call it learning and development, right? So various ways that you can give people more of the tools that they need. And one of the things that we're finding in the Extreme Leadership Accelerator, which is another way of saying a mastermind program, which is a generic term that's used a lot, is bringing people together in the organization together to help each other with, again, whatever it is you're working on, whether it's LEAP or anything else. So are you, not you, Susie, but you people listening, are you looking for opportunities in your organization to facilitate the coming together of people across the organization in order to help each other with whatever is important to you? Not a new idea. I mean, the idea behind, quality circles, et cetera, started to be a big thing in the 80s, kind of dating myself on this. But again, for all the right reasons, it's that brain trust and that heart trust. So what advice would you give, Susie, to somebody who's in an organization or in a business, in a company that doesn't have the kind of support that you have from the top, but feels really passionate about making a positive difference where they are?
That's a great question. And the advice that I would give is keep at it. When you have that strong passion, and you have that much energy behind something, we like to say it's kind of like a puppy that just keeps coming with the tail wagging. Just keep at it. Other people, even if the powers that be don't right away see the value, other people around you will feel that energy and feel your passion. And you may be that lone nut, right? But you might get some followers along the way that are going to kind of grab on to the same idea. So then it becomes power in numbers, right? So you get a group of people along with you that have that kind of energy. And after a while, I think you can be unstoppable. Yeah.
So really what I'm hearing there is it's kind of it's the providing proof element of LEAP. Because if I don't have support from the top, there are, part of the thing I've got to figure out is why. Why isn't the support there? Well, it could be any number of reasons. One very simple reason could be they just don't want to. I'm successful. I got here. Look at me. Look around. Look at my office. I'm doing great. Why should I change the culture? Everything is great here. And it's just another way of saying, I don't want to. You can't make me. There are companies like that. But then, and there's not a whole hell of a lot you could do with that, I'm thinking. And hopefully I'm wrong, but that's what I think until I hear otherwise. On the other hand, for the most part, I think it's because they haven't seen the evidence that it's worthwhile. And that's a great challenge, because then it gets back to what you were just saying. How do I prove to the rest of the organization that there's a better way to do things? And I can do that through my own example. And through that example, I could find other like-minded and like-hearted people to pull into my circle, and we could start to brainstorm with each other. And then what happens? We start to get results. And any decent business is interested in results. So people start looking over the fence and going, hey, what are you guys doing over there? That seems to be working, which gives you a chance to say, let us show you. Right. So if I think if we give ourselves the slack to say, I'm just going to wait until things change up there before I do anything, then it's just another way of saying, I choose not to lead, which is fine.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. But don't tell me you're a leader. then.
Right.
So this is about, proving to ourselves as much as proving to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, as we bring this great conversation in for a landing, you have recently been endowed with the title of Chief Culture Officer at Wood Huston Bank. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I don't think there's anybody in that company that would hear that news and say, where'd that come from? You've embodied that already anyhow. And from that position, as you look out over the horizon of time into the future for Wood Huston Bank, what do you want? What do you want to help create at the bank and in your communities?
It's what I want to create is something well beyond myself. I want to leave a legacy of, I want to see other people soar. I want to see other people experience what I experience every day. I want to see people feel like they get to come to work versus having to come to work. That's the true joy, is seeing other people fly and take it and run with it. There are a lot smarter people than me at this bank, a lot smarter people than me. And it's fun to see people take things and run with it. That's what I want to see. So when I leave here, whenever that may be, it'll keep going, and it'll be even stronger than it is now. So that's my hope.
That's fantastic. I'll chime in and just say I wish that more people had that kind of legacy-oriented view to their work. What kind of difference am I going to make here that's going to a good difference, I should say, a positive difference am I going to make here that will outlast my presence here at this company? Can really change the actions that we take every day. We start taking that longer term view. And I'm sure you've influenced quite a good number of people already in that regard. In fact, I know for a fact that you have. So thank you so much, Susie, for sharing the story. And I know there's much more to it, a lot more detail. So I encourage folks to check out Wood Huston Bank and learn more about your story. And we'll share the link to the article about Wood Huston. And I'm gonna get up on my soapbox and crow about that as well, if a person does indeed crow from a soapbox. And with that, thanks for tuning in, folks. Make sure to go to radicalleap.org, get your free audio book of the Radical Leap, and we will see you next time on the Leap Hour. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you for joining me on the Leap Hour. Hope you enjoyed our time together. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share the heck out of this thing. Also, don't forget to get your free copy of the Radical Leap audio at radicalleap.org. We'll see you next time on the Leap Hour.